to my palace. I've been here a while. Long time. It's been 20 years. Long years. I thought that eventually the emotions would grow numb. Maybe they just melt away. Maybe I could just be left. Peace. But it hasn't happened. It feels just like yesterday. But the things we do, and the things we say, and the things that happen to us, they have meaning. Some of them we don't understand right now, do we? But in the beginning, I'm Barabbas. Jesus, Barabbas. My name means son of the Father. My last name, the one you know, but my first name, the one who saves. It's kind of a dark irony, don't you think? In the night, I was betrayed. I was already in chains. I was locked in a cold prison cell, pinned to the floor, pinned to my decisions of my past, and I waited impatiently for my death to occur, because you see, I wanted to be a martyr. My crime was that of insurrection. Insurrection. Do you know that word? How beautiful that word is, insurrection. I was just a young kid 20 years ago, a rabble-rouser, trained, brought up with anger and rage, and I felt my blood boil as Herod put that flag, that Caesar's golden eagle in the temple. That's desecration. And the law required that we do something about it. Many others failed. Cowards. They're cowards. Failed to stand up to this blasphemy, but I didn't. We should all have to stand up to rip up these vile things of this blasphemy. So I lived up to my calling, and so I was worthy of crucifixion. Some had already preceded me in this, but I was ready. In fact, on the night I was scheduled to have those nails pinned to my hands, pinned into my wrists, and suffocating, and to be choking to death, choking on death, I would gladly have done it. All for the sake of Elohim, the Almighty. I was the one that people would remember from here on out, from years from then on. Yeshua Barabbas! Jesus Barabbas, rescuer of the people God saves. I would be the hero of the temple. Can you hear their shouts? Can you hear the shouts when people call your name? I was prepared for that moment. I wasn't prepared for what happened next. In the night I was betrayed, on the night before my crucifixion, I sat on the cold prison floor. I was chained to the wall, to the floor. Chains on my wrists, perhaps preparing me for the nails. Maybe. I remember the smell. Dust, dankness. I can hear the sounds of the rats shuffling and scuffling over the bodies of almost dead men, and them crying out in the prison, crying out in the darkness, crying out in their fear. I could smell the fear still, the pain in that lonely darkness, and those people would be there long after I went to the cross. And pride rose in my heart. I had the courage to take my life into my own hands and stand against the Romans and their insufferable blasphemy. For the law's sake, I was prepared to die. And my heart beat faster as the sound of the crowd came closer. As it neared the prison, muffled shouts, thrilled voices, I could feel it. Perhaps in that moment I could hear anger and rage and fury, my favorite emotions. Was this the moment that Israel would finally stand up and do what God had planned for it, to rise against her tormentors? Insurrection! This is what I wanted all along. And I strained myself to free from the chains, pulled hard, but the chains were too strong. And then I heard that weasel speak, Pilate. I couldn't hear what he said, but when he finished, a shout and a roar from the crowd, a surge of emotions, and then, my name, Barabbas! 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 And my heart thrilled and chilled at the thought of the crowd calling for me. My name would be remembered forever. And then the next words. Crucify him. Crucify him. Did the crowd turn? Were they seeking my death now? I thought that perhaps they were here to release me, perhaps so I could serve them one more day. But when they cried out for my crucifixion, my emotions were torn. That was what I wanted, wasn't it? That is what I wanted. So I pulled on the chains once again, hoping that I could free myself, my wrists and my ankles. And I remember the blood coming out. That's what I always wanted, was the blood. More yelling, more shouts of crucifixion. And then rejoicing, the crowd, the mob got what they wanted. But then there was this eerie calmness, like just before a Galilean storm. The air seemed to be sucked from the room. Steeling myself, I waited impatiently for them to take me to the cross, and when they did, I would be ready. I would be ready with my fists like I always had been. I would fight these oppressors all the way to the cross, and when they unchained me, I would unleash my fury. One last glorious fight for the Father. I am Barabbas, the Son of the Father. The guards entered. They were prepared, swords drawn. They should be. We were part of the insurrection. We'd already killed some of them. But then one of them produced a key. And he said, "It seems favor fortunes you. Don't waste your freedom." And then he locked my hands. and left the prison door open, wide open. Freedom stood just beyond, and I was confused. I deserved death, not freedom. How could they let me go? I deserved their punishment. What does this mean? I asked the guard. He said, someone's taking your place. You're set free. Who is it? Who's robbed me of my destiny as a martyr? He said, the ground. The guard ground his teeth, and I can still see it popping out in his cheeks. He said a nobody, some carpenter from Galilee. They charged him with your crime, given him your cross, and given him your death. Jesus Bar-Joseph, Jesus, son of Joseph, or something like that. Some idiots called him the Messiah. The guard laughed. Some Messiah. But this isn't right. This isn't right. I am Jesus Barabbas. I am the terrorist. I deserve to die. I am guilty. Those are my nails. And the guard shrugged, and then he spat at me. And be that as it may, scum, you are still set free. Your price has been paid. These scars, they heal. But they never really stop hurting. So I walked out of that prison. And I didn't know what to do. I was confused. What do I do now? What do I say? Where do I go? My life had been insurrection. And at first, I went back to what I'd always known, outrage. I had my life and my death in my control. God was going to love me for what I did. My service to him, I kept the law. I kept it holy. This Jesus Bar-Joseph, he stole my glory. My glory. And then I walked out of the prison. And this strange sense of peace fell over me. I couldn't explain it. But it felt as if God the Father had changed everything. And I couldn't understand it until I heard it in the streets a few days later and into the months ahead that this Jesus Bar-Joseph had risen from the dead. Can you believe that? In the months I listened as the preachers talked about God's grace in this Jesus, this Messiah, and in him crucified. And I began to hear a different ending to the story. And the emptiness I felt, and the chains that I had intentionally or unintentionally kept myself locked into, salvation by the law, fell by the wayside. And I realized, I realized at that moment that I was as empty as that tomb. And I needed to be filled. And it took me years to understand, to hear the story of this father and his son, Jesus Bar-Joseph. Years. free. I'm free. There's nothing that can change us, that can chain us anymore. No prisons big enough or strong enough, no bars thick enough, no darkness black enough, no pain large enough to keep us from the love of God in the Christ. If death can't hold on to him, maybe I should. And if I don't have the power to do it, I know he will. Tonight we gather together again in secret, and we remember. And I'm just a footnote in history. And I'm okay with that. Because we remember him. On the night in which he was betrayed, Jesus, the Messiah,